You guys have anything else to say? All right. I will just summarize then. Essentially, I'm not willing to sacrifice the discussions and ideas, and most of all the community that media organizations promote under this open forum model just to get rid of the koala. I wish there were a way that we could get rid of them without putting other media organizations at risk, without putting our freedom of speech at risk, but there isn't. I think the best way we can combat this is by continuing to do what, in large part, the Black Student Union and other affirmative action groups have been doing right now. And that's to bring this up for debate and make the campus climate so toxic to the koala that nobody on campus tolerates them.
There's a reason that no media organization on the committee was in favor of the government speech model. And the reason is that it is bad for media organizations. It fundamentally is. This governing body does not do a good job handling money. Giving them more power to handle money is a bad idea. The best way that everyone in the media organizations, not one of them who, besides Chris Gregorian, agrees, or Chris Gregorian doesn't even agree with his views. I'm gonna, say it. I don't want to say it. I'm sorry, buddy, but like, come on, guys. He's not the KKK, and every one of the media organizations on the committee voted against this, spoke out against this. So please do the same. Understand that AS does not know media organizations, and they should not be given more control of them. The answer to all of the problems on our campus is more speech and not less. If we continue the dialogue, we can expand that dialogue. We talked about having an emergency fund for when events like this happen, that members of BSU could publish a newsletter. When you have more speech, you get more solutions rather than less. Don't use a government speech model which will fundamentally deride those solutions. Thank you.
Without having to feel like we're being attacked by that free speech. I mean, a lot of members of media organizations, obviously they want to have guaranteed funding, if at all possible, and I completely understand with that. If I were them, I'd want my funding to be absolutely guaranteed as well. So, I mean, come on, we're talking about privileges here. Like,
fuck off.
Does the committee have a piece of legislation that is proposed? Or is it simply a recommendation?
The majority opinion of the committee by a long shot is to keep the current funding model and discuss options that will... You asked me a question about this.
Yeah, I mean, the committee either has a report on legislation or doesn't. So
and so we do not recommend any change to the current funding model other than to continue discussing options that will improve access to funding for media organizations.
All right, thank you.
Point of information?
Yes.
Question for the representatives. Did this committee on media guidelines include any representation from any student organizations outside of the media orgs?
No, not unless you count AS as a media organization, or as an organization.
Thank you.
Point of information.
Okay.
So, the committee has no legislation to present to council to vote on, if that is correct, right? There's nothing for us to talk about.
Chris, can you answer that, please?
Like I said earlier, we look at the ideas and we ask that the current funding model stay the same, and that we as a council or whatever committee create improvements to the current model.
So the motion is to unfreeze the funding.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is that motion going to be made so we can discuss it or what?
Point of information. Peter has
Which was not recommended by the committee, so...
Okay. Reorder to new business.
No. Object.
Listen up, everyone. Listen up, everyone. The committee has finished reporting. Currently, there's no item on the table. Peter made a motion to move to business.
I'm sorry, can you go to the speakers list that existed?
The speakers list on what? There's no motion.
On the presentation at first.
For questions?
Yeah.
Motion to allow 20 minutes for questions.
Object. I think what the majority of council wants is to move on the motion that they're presenting and discuss that.
The committee hasn't proposed a motion.
The committee motions to reinstate media funding effective immediately. That's the
The
majority
chair of the
opinion.
committee needs to be speaking on behalf of the committee.
So our motion is to unfreeze funding.
Shut up,
Yeah. If the committee never made a formal motion to do that, then it can't be made.
Ask the committee for a vote now.
There's a motion on the table, the first motion that was made was Peter.
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor of going to new business, please raise your hand.
You did make a
All in
small
favor
vote,
of new
it's
business,
not on the
please raise your
first,
hand.
Saturday or Sunday.
All opposed?
Yeah. Wait.
Okay, that passes.
Shit.
Call for division.
I'm sorry, yeah, can you do that vote again?
Call for division.
And I do believe it is debatable to move to new business.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what the council wants to do here. There's only a couple options. I mean, there's three options that have been presented, and the idea is to propose each one and vote on them. And if there's no legislation proposed in writing, I'm not going to accept it.
Point of information.
Which is not a recommendation to committee.
Point of information. Do you all realize how organized and embarrassing we're being? Like, can we please figure out what we're doing? Because
This is why governments don't work.
Can I be recognized?
Jordan.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'm going to move to overturn the decision of the chair in a second, just because I understand that maybe there wasn't a formal vote taken by the committee, but there was a consensus, and it is a consensus we need to discuss. Before we move on, the individual's own interpretation of how we should proceed. So I'd like to overturn the decision of the chair to accept their motion to unfreeze media fund. Object?
second.
There's no way that that motion can be accepted if it wasn't made by the committee.
I just made that
the
motion.
but You're the only one that has decided that it has.
I'm majority opinion. I can make that motion.
To overturn. You can ask the chair.
I represent the majority opinion, so I can make that motion.
The committee can't just, the chair of the committee can't just make a motion.
Yes, they can.
Yes, they can.
That's the job.
One parliamentary procedure.
Why don't you read Robert?
Oh, who doesn't like
Okay. Okay, listen, we're in new business. We're going to accept whatever motion comes in writing first and discuss it and vote on it. I'm not accepting any motion from the committee, and the motion was go to new business and the vote passed.
You actually can't do that.
Right, I'm moving to overturn your decision.
And okay.
There's
All
a
in
second
favor
on the
of
floor.
overturning my decision to go to new business, please raise your hand. All in favor of overturning the decision to go to new business, please raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, it passes 10-9.
On the motion to accept the committee's motion, please.
The committee cannot make a motion.
Yes,
It wasn't voted on by the committee.
Yes, they can.
Point of parliamentary procedure, we're proceeding under the 1915 unrevised rules of...
I am asking to overturn your decision to allow the committee to make the motion that the chair has presented.
So unconstitutional. So
Point of information, has the committee ever voted on any recommendations?
Yes, multiple times. Yes, we did, Utah.
If there's not a motion in writing from the committee, it can't be accepted.
Can we go right from
We'll go back.
So,
I'm moving that we overturn the chair's decision.
Thinking about the intent of the committee.
Accept the motion.
Second.
You can't just create a motion out of committee. You can go to new business and propose that motion and vote on it. That's all there is to it. I'm not going to recognize you anymore, Jordan.
Motion for a 10-minute recess.